Peace. This is the Ask Your Old Head podcast with Justice Raji. Brotherhood. Brotherhood is a basic commitment to treat others as family. As a member of your community, your squad, your team, your tribe, what have you. And it's a very important part of self-development as I see it as a young man. Today, what I'm going to do is go through just a couple concepts that were on my head around this in these days and times as we move into what's going to be a very momentous year for a lot of people, a lot going on, and reminding and being grounded in what your values are and who you are is always, as I see it, the way that you can manage, the struggle and strife that will come your way. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it and stop yip-yapping. So as I said, brotherhood is a very important concept to me. And I think that, as many things in our culture and our society, it's very easy to assume the understanding, assume the idea of what brotherhood means. So I'm going to take you through just some aspects of how I see it. All right. So first of all, as I said, I think it's very important to your development as a young man. And then even as an older man, your continued growth and development, although your relationship with it may change for certain parts and aspects. And as you age, you also will get a deeper understanding what it really means to treat someone as your brother. Now, I'm going to sort of talk about this from the perspective, of being a young man at one time who's now an older man and does a lot of work with young men and is very concerned about the healthy transmission of masculinity and as it fits currently in our society. So, I think the place that I'd like to start is just to think about, take you to a little story and something, from me growing up. And so me and my brother are about 2 years apart in age, a little bit over 2 years apart in age. And there's a couple of things as we was growing up that my mother, emphasized with us. Now, my father, as I've shared on, I think, other podcasts past, died of a heart attack when I was 5, right? So there's a chunk of my life, where I had my father, and there's a chunk of life where I didn't have my father. Now, he wasn't the only male role model in my world. My grandfather, who I've mentioned, I have uncles, I have other uncles who were brothers to my father, who showed me supreme equality in terms of looking out for us and doing for us, because he wasn't here anymore. So there's that aspect. But there was 2 things that stood out that my mom, really emphasized with us. Was one, that we got to look out for each other. Even though my other brother was the older brother, right, there was never a treatment or an activation within our family where I was treated as if I'm the baby and, I basically have no responsibility. I could do no wrong. And he has to be like the man of the family and make all the decisions and take care of everybody. We were always raised that I need to look out for him and he needs to look out for me, right? We need to look out for each other, wherever that is. That's in school, that's in the community, that's when we outside. Wherever it is, you look out for your brother, right? And if you feel someone else is your brother, you look out for him, right? Now, what does look out for him mean? Look out for him, as I see it, is, can be a lot of things. It's being mindful of dangers. I mean, quite frankly, is a very basic one. I grew up in the 80s, and, fist fights was a real thing. I don't know these days how it rolls out, but where, people want to test you, sorting out order, all kinds of, pathology, some things that I think, are not necessarily, the worst thing that ever happened to you. I mean, you can survive being punched in the face, as Deez Samiro have shared quite eloquently last week. You know what I'm saying? Once you get over that, you realize you can deal with a lot of things. But very specifically, that's my brother. And so, when we went to school, we moved to a new area, and if somebody had beef with him, they had beef with me, right? It's my brother. I don't care if you're bigger than me. That's my brother. On the other side, now being older, if it was a situation, he wasn't necessarily going to jump in with a younger kid or anything like that, but he was also not going to let somebody bully me or jump me or any of that other stuff. but on a very even closer, I think, more real day-to-day level, it's about, me and my brother shared a room my entire life till he went to college. We got to take care of the house together. We are both responsible. If the job doesn't get done, it's not he didn't do it, so, I'm just let the kitchen be a mess. It's like, nah, we both in trouble. You know what I mean? We in this together. So, chores, responsibilities, whatever needed to get done, we had to do that stuff together. The second really important thing, though, that she emphasized with us, and like any two young, kids, we roughed house, wrestling. We used to do blood pits in the living room, which is like a football drill. Some of y'all may know what that is. We used to box with, winter gloves and orange slices, all kinds of wild stuff, right? Making wooden swords and fighting with them. But my mother was very, very, very strong around us not physically fighting each other to solve our disputes, right? And that if me and him had a problem with each other about whatever it was, that we would have to agree and remember that you cannot physically beat each other up to get the other person to submit to your will in regards to solving this dispute. Now, part of that for her was that she had seen guys she grew up with who, used to fight and da-da-da. And as they got older, that stuff gets painful and, very destructive, to your character, to your sense of self, to, your capacity to engage is just not healthy. And so you have, she witnessed, grown men in their 30s and 40s and 50s that can't get along with each other. That's brothers. That's from the same mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? They can't talk because they've brutalized each other so badly, or one, whoever won the fight is now brutalized the other so badly. It's like it's too painful even to be together. She didn't want that for us. She felt that it is better that one, and I think, and I agree. For the record, I don't beat my children. I don't put my hands on my children. I feel like people have all the opportunity to learn violence in the external world. There's no need for me to use that as a way to create discipline and create structure in my family. So with that, as I continue, that you make the agreement that you're my brother, we're not going to be violent with each other. You know what I mean? If it got to come to that, then, maybe whatever this issue is, maybe we need to walk away from it or whatever. I don't know. So those are, it's a set of baseline. So now as I go out into the world and you start to move out on your own, I came, and this is an old saying, and I don't know the age of it, but I do know the source, at least the credited source in terms of this concept. And this gets into, the thing that I think is very important about brotherhood as it pertains to the point in your life when you start to take ownership, of you being a man in the world. And that is, the idea that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? It's a Jim Rohn quote. I'm not sure the exact, source material in terms of if it was originally in a book or in a speech or whatever. But the basic concept that I see there and that I want to extend to you is the idea that who you choose to spend time with, right, impacts a lot of things that's going to go on in the way that you live your life. I think about it one way is just, if you always are disappointed in the day-to-day activities that you're engaged in, and, we're looking around like, well, why don't we ever do this? You know what I'm saying? Or as I like to say, if you think, man, my crew, so, whoever it is you be with most of the time, like, oh, that's my man. It's like, we go over there, whatever. And this is whatever stage and station in life you're at. So if you out here scrambling, scamming on the streets, you know what I'm saying? Or you off in other environs, academia or whatever, you know what I'm saying, in the professional world, you know what I'm saying? If your crew and the dudes you be with, there's always some bullshit going on. Motherfuckers beefing, it's arguments. It's one dude always got some kind of wild drama with a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Girlfriends, ex-wives, wives, whatever. If that's always around you, right, it's very likely that one, you also got a lot of bullshit going on. And also that you sort of either you enjoy bullshit or you don't have, right now the perspective to separate yourself from that. Now to go from a less, profane way of saying that, it's, I think, the unhealthy side of, this basic commitment to, loyalty, to honor that, you are family to me. If that is, it can be a way to reinforce negative behaviors of those that you kick it with, right? So let me give you an example. If you got dudes that's out scrambling, right? And let's say, just for reference, say, late 80s, 90s scrambling, selling crack rocks. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you do. You, to some degree, and not only because I know brothers that used to be out doing various things, but that wasn't their foundation source. They was engaged in that in one way and then were trying to find ways to step away from it. But there's always potential, and it's a basic thing, I think, of human nature, that when we're doing something that brings us back a reward, we will start to rationalize that behavior. And further, we will start to find a cohort to be a part of supporting our personal narrative about how we live, and therefore give us, a sense of affirmation that this is cool and this is what we should be doing. So, brothers that hustled together start developing a whole bunch of philosophies and ideas around why it's reasonable for them to be hustling, why hustling is what they need to do, why hustling is cool, or, and not cool, and they're like, oh man, that's cool, but cool in the, like, it's been affirmed as an all right status to be out here doing, and any other bullshit that goes along with it, from, disrespecting smokers to, violence, bullying, strong arming whole communities and neighborhoods, all of that other shit that if you telling me it's just about making money, I would beg to differ. Another piece of that I think is there is, you can place loyalty, above a standard of righteousness, right? Now, so what I'm saying there is, within the midst of, how many domestic violence situations have been able to perpetuate because the men that were closest to a man that is willfully abusing this woman are not willing to tell him or bring any consequences to him on a personal level. Now, this belies the larger legal apparatus that should be there to protect, our women and protect people in general who are in an abusive circumstance, meaning there should be resources from our social services and from our law enforcement that if someone is in a situation where they're being physically and mentally abused, then they reach for help, that they can get it. What I'm saying is, if you are the dude who has a homie, like, yeah, man, she was getting a little out of pocket, you know what I'm saying? So I had to, do, X, Y, Z, and you just be like, a word, I could dig it. Like, nah, B. Like, that should be, if y'all might be your man, y'all might have whatever bonds or whatever, but that's a moment where somebody got to say, fam, you be putting your hands on that sister? Like, yeah, I don't see that, right? Now, as a person that has walked the walk in terms of within a personal community dynamic, had to run an intervention to tell a brother, you can't put your hands on that sister. I don't care what you're telling me happened and the story and the way. If that's where it's going, call me, call him. We will come get you. We'll also bring her, and her, so we can find a way to resolve whatever's going here without anybody going to violence and mayhem, right? So, outside of the domestic violence aspect, though, there's a lot of smaller level things where people will place, the loyalty to the group, and it can be a fraught circumstance, right? You a young man, you rolling with your homies, 3 of your homies is stealing. You ain't trying to be stealing, but that's your homies. You make a game time decision that I'm gonna get at a pass because, That's my man's and it ain't really hurting me, so to speak. So I'm gonna let them do their thing. Not that big a deal. Another level, y'all maybe like, drinking and drugging together, right? Maybe you only dealing with the marijuana and the alcohol, which, I would at least tacitly say are a little bit more manageable in terms of their effect on the body and, time windows and all that. And then when your man promotes, he decides to graduate to crack or cocaine or some other substances, and you don't, if you have a problem with it, and you don't say, "Yo, fam, really trying to fuck with the white horse," you know what I'm saying? That's your moment as a brother to just ask, to make sure that he's cool, that he understands the ramifications of imbibing that substance and where it can go. Right, so you don't want to place loyalty above the basic standard of righteousness, right? You see your brother do something foul in the community, and you still feel you have an obligation to him above the way that standards that he's holding for himself. That's an unhealthy manifestation of brotherhood. I got two more, and then I'm gonna go to the healthy because we want to end on the positive. We want to move to the positive, from the negative to the positive, right? So, also though, I think a very subtle one that happens, and I see a lot, is setting just lowering your life expectations, right? So you can start to create a whole mythology around why your life circumstances are as they are, and basically, since everybody that I kick it with is sort of in the same boat, this is just how it's supposed to be, right? So if you somewhere mooching off, using your using your love and affection as a means to allow us to let you stay up in her crib that she may be getting through various support services with no, saying, and dig me. I ain't trying to smash on you, brother. I can honor the idea that, you jammed up right now and you and the sister care about each other and she got this hook. So I'm going to move in with her. We're going to try and make it work. You know what I'm saying? But if you stagnate and there's no work to actually move to, like, I'm going to have a job and have a means to bring in income and we're going to be equal partners on building a world together, you know what I'm saying? That's stagnating. And, you can't ask me to look at that any other kind of way. It's stagnant. But even beyond that, it's like, my first couple cribs I lived in with my brothers. First crib we had mad people in a 4-bedroom crib that wasn't even really a 4-bedroom crib. You know what I mean? We decided, after that experience that, maybe keeping it to 2 or 3 as roommates would be a better fit and a better way to go. But we got cribs that we could afford based on our money, and then we tried to keep them, orderly and had a basic standard of what we wanted to live in, right? So that means for me, and I've been in some cats' houses at that time when I was a young man in my early 20s, toilet dirty, sink full of dishes, house is a fucking mess. And you ask why, the motherfucker says shit to you like, well, I'm a man and shit. They'd be like, fuck that got to do with living in squalor. Clean this shit up, right? But if you start creating mythology around manhood, that manhood is not cleaning, right? Manhood is not keeping a certain standard in the way that you dress and carry yourself. You just be like, cool. I mean, fuck it. I'm going outside in pajamas, my nigga. Like, yo, I don't do the outside in pajamas thing. Sorry. Can't endorse it. I ain't going to front on you if you come, holler at it, we come to kick it and you got your pajamas on, meaning I ain't going to disrespect you or be like, oh, nigga, look at your pajamas. But let me be clear, right? Pajamas is for in the house, not out the house. Pajamas in the house, other clothes and other fabrics, materials out the house. That's all you got. Dig it. Life is hard. Stuff happens. But I think there's an opportunity to then to build and to move on. You know what I mean? If all you got is pajama pants for 6 months, what it is that you doing the most of the rest of the time, especially if I see you getting it up in you, meaning you smoking, you drinking, you drugging, you doing whatever. You over here with this one and that one. Oh, I got these girls, blah, 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 blah. Man, get you some more pants. Bare minimums. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so, but it is a very, on another level in terms of the settling, lowering your expectations. A dear friend of mine who I grew up with and, may come up in other circumstances, but I always felt there was a level of resentment that he had with me for leaving to go to college, right? And we got to talk about it, almost once or twice. He's been in and out of substance abuse for many years, so it hasn't really been good. But it was definitely like word, you really gonna leave? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm out. Like, I like it here and all, but I got other stuff I'm interested in life, things I want to do. And I want to leave where I grew up to go do something else. And I've had conversations from my current work to work I've done over the years where I've heard young brothers say, well, I don't want to leave this. I don't want to leave the hood. I don't want to leave my peoples, da. And making all these decisions that keep you in a space, not to say that you got to leave your hood. You don't got to leave your hood, so to speak, forever. If that's where your family and your people that you love most are located. However, you do not have to accept whatever the conditions are of that space if you wish to see something else. And if that, the work that needs to happen to see those changes occur requires you to go off to college, go to a trade school, move to another area for a time, whatever those steps are for you to get to where you're trying to go for yourself. You can't allow your brotherhood and a sense of loyalty to others limit you, making those moves. All right. And the last one I see that can ultimately be unhealthy is missing out on other experiences, right? It's basically you into something that ain't none of your homies, none of your people you kick it with closely are into. And a lot of times folks will make a very willful decision to just not look into it more because they don't want to have to explain it to their peoples, right? Now, some of us have a certain level of gumption, I guess you could say, to just be like, fuck it, I want to go see that, so I'm going to bounce, I'm going to go do that. Everybody doesn't have that. And most often, what I've seen in terms of humanity is that we will try to stick closely to those who we, feel we have, honor and bond and whatever with. So, that's the couple of the unhealthy aspects I can see in brotherhood. Now, before I get to some of the healthy aspects, I want to go share just a couple, definitions that I came across while thinking about this, right? One of those is just the Merriam-Webster likes to call the quality of state of being brothers, like fellowship, alliance. That's good stuff right there. This is from another one of the relationship between brothers. So, that honor and the idea of that you're actually in unity with someone else. Others talk about, friendship from the Urban Dictionary. Something more than just a friendship, right? And that's cool. So on the healthy side, and this is where I might weave in a little bit about how, my closest brothers carry it. Brotherhood can give you somebody that when you're struggling and you need a teammate, you need a boost, that somebody that can back you up. You know what I'm saying? Now, not maybe in the way that an intimate partner would, right? In the way that you just need to be able to say to somebody like, man, I'm disappointed. Like, if any of you, I'll speak to my own experience. For someone that is too smart to have almost flunked out of college, basically just because of dumb shit, not doing my work, being mixed on my intentions and motivations, having a good brother in my circle at the time that I could be like, man, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Being able to therapeutically say that out loud to somebody and have the sense of trust that they're going to reflect back to me, some level of support. They're going to give me back some positivity. They ain't going to give me back like, well, you shouldn't have been doing that bullshit anyway, or whatever, some old, defeatist bullshit, was really, really important in my own life. And I see often when people don't have somebody that they can trust to confide stuff they're trying to figure out in. In ideal circumstances, we would have multiple sources for that. And like I say, this is important in terms of brotherhood, because the conversation I can have with my brother about certain stuff that is happening with me is not the same conversation I can have with my mom. My mom's mad supportive, cares, a whole 9 yards. But at every point in my life, she was not the appropriate person to talk about some of them things with. You know what I'm saying? That it just wasn't appropriate. You know what I mean? My Earth is incredibly supportive and loyal, and cares about me, and wants me to do great things. But throughout every moment, it was plotting time in our life, and actually before we was involved with each other, she wasn't necessarily there to be the person for certain stuff I needed to process. But my brother has been. In another healthy context, your brother will push you to do more, right? Your brother will ask you, you'd be like, yeah, I want to do this. You'll be like, word, tell me more about it. Why you want to do that? How you going to do that? I ain't never thought of that. Whatever those questions and lines of thinking that will get you actually motivated. And also, sometimes it's friendly competition, right? If you, everybody's seen the movie, the various movies where people go back to their high school reunion, and it's like what happened to this person? Where'd this person's life go? What happened to that person? Type stuff. She was top of the class. He was this and that at that time. Where are they at now? Type stuff. There is a healthy motivation that your brother go off to to strong success in business, sports, whatever. And you there like, rubbing 2 nickels together trying to make chili. Like, hey, man, maybe you need to get your thing in motion too, right? Maybe you need to find some motivation. You was out here scrambling and dambling, dashing and lashing in your love relationships. And one of your homies kind of like, really start building a family with somebody. You might be like, man, maybe I should get it. Maybe I should do that. Or if it's that simple. Now, I know it ain't that simple, but just for a reference sake. You know what I mean? The other aspect I think about there too is that, you have a team or squad that when you need to figure out stuff that's going on that you can connect with, right? And they can pass opportunities your way. You know what I mean? A good brother will say, I saw this. And I was out, what's his name? I know you was interested in XYZ. Boom, here, I saw this. I don't know if it helps, but let me give it to you. You know what I mean? Because you're my brother. So I want all the success and wealth and greatness in the world. And I hope you want the same for me. Right. And, the one other healthy aspect that I think I want to add, it just gives you strength. You know what I mean? My team, and when you hear me sometimes say about the pedigree, and born in, not sworn in, it's like, there's an ethic that I am trying to carry myself with in the world. And it's not something that I walk alone. I know others who walk the same level, walk with the same ethic, walk with the same principles. All of them not necessarily people that are adherents to the same culture as I, but they have a similar idea and a mind state around how they're going to activate in the world. And that gives me a level of strength. That gives me motivation, gives me energy, gives me a pickup when I'm down, and also gives me an outlet sometimes where I can be a resource. Because nothing better than being a resource to me. Nothing better than being a resource. And I think we're almost to the end of this meditation, so I'm gonna get to just what I think is the more profound universal concept around brotherhood is that. When I walk in the world, understand that everyone that I interact with, not that I can extend the same level of support and energy in terms of brotherhood, but my starting off point is I'm going to treat you as if you're my family, as if you are someone that has meaning and standing and value to me, and I'm going to do the best within the confines of the interaction that we're about to have to extend that to you. Right. Now, you may not take it. I might put out my brotherhood and you be on some, man, fuck your brotherhood shit. Which I go, that's cool. You obviously don't want to have it. So you will not get it. I'm going to keep it moving and go on with the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever I need to do. But, you know, that's my baseline. You know, and I think for you and for all people, you know, starting to figure out your baseline, figure out what are your bare minimums, figure out what are your base standards that need to be upheld is going to be key to surviving what's going on around us, you know, and it's always been, I think, the way that you can start to build what you need for your life. Because if you're not moving forward and staying focused on your goals, on your value system, on the way you think things should happen, you can be easily distracted and caught up arguing with people who have no actual interest in winning the argument. They just want to argue. All right. So I'm going to call it a wrap. This has been the Ask Your Old Head podcast with Justice Raji, Brotherhood. More to come, and we'll see you next week. Peace.